enjoy the show, play on Perjangers.
Oh, man. So I sent you a little video yesterday, and it was this guy, North02. And he was essentially, it was a really, really well put together video, but he was saying where all of our ancient ancestors were getting fucked up on drugs. And his main thing, going off of Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory, was that, I mean, it most likely, it wasn't like the mushrooms weren't enough to like change their brains or anything like that, looking down the line and genealogical wise, but there's definitely something that you're passing down through tradition in those, especially when you look at the shamanistic cultures that came out of that. You had a shaman, a guy who remembered, you eat this one for this effect. This one will help cure your fucking stomach ailments. This one will cure cancer. So they had their own shared knowledge that went down through the generations and stuff. So that kind of makes sense that even from our ancient ancestors, knowing I got to hunt that steer and I got to kill it for my family to eat anyway. But look at these mushrooms that grow on the back of their droppings, man. I saw a god yesterday and vibrated with the universe. That's enough to change. And the one thing that I liked about that video is he was saying, now, what if this is one of the times when technological changes came about? Because they said they were sitting there stoned off their ass and they thought, you know what? If I just kind of, holy shit, I got fire. Hey guys, I made fire. It had to be a weird person that found that first mushroom on the backside of shit and it said, I'm going to eat this anyway. Wait, what? You're going to eat that? I'm going to eat it. I'm hungry. It looks good. And then he eats it and sees God, Another ethereal being from another universe.
But do you think psychedelics created religion?
That's the question, though, isn't it?
Like, what came first? Like, so if you look at like a chicken egg thing, right? Do they believe in gods because they use psychedelics, or do they use psychedelics and they thought they convened with gods because they already had religion?
Was that Terence McKenna that also did the mushroom book on the Christians? He thought that it was like the mushroom,
the Themyscira.
Yeah, sacred mushroom and the cross. Yeah, because they thought that that Jesus was a, literal metaphor for their mushroom ritual. So that's pretty interesting. Like, you take this mushroom and you see Jesus. You not only see them, you sit down with them. I think I forget which. It was like the Apache or the Cherokee when they were being indoctrinated into Christianity. They said the white man sits down to have sits down with Jesus. The Indian sits down and has a conversation with Jesus, because that's why they needed those psychedelics for their rituals. Because, hey man, you want me to? All right, I'll talk to Jesus and I'll get back to you and let you know what he says.
That was the Comanche Quanah Parker.
Yes,
who said that. I actually read the book about the Comanche Empire. It's called The Empire of the Summer Moon.
Yeah.
And it's by C.S. Scott, I think, or something like that. It's over my bookshelf over there. But and it's about the story of Quanah Parker. And that quote you mentioned there, that was actually in the short video you sent me as well. But yeah, like the Comanche are a fascinating culture. How they mastered the horse and how they were able to actually hang on, and they caused so much damage in Texas, and the Texas Rangers had to develop firing with the revolver off of horseback just to combat the rapidness of the Comanches' ability to shoot bow and arrow at the time.
Yeah.
So they're a fascinating culture, very warlike.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
the Comanche were another type
really,
of thing. But you know, they still had their whole rituals and all that came down. And we're finding out now that their history and their supposed mythology, right, of, oh, we've been here for thousands and thousands of generations. They're saying, oh shit, that's actually right. Look at this one tribe. They say they've been here for 13,000 years. And they were. So there's a lot that we don't know, especially when you just murder a whole fucking group of indigenous people and then wonder what the fuck happened afterwards. That shoot first, ask questions later mentality really doesn't work when you're trying to get answers. So who knows?
It's believed there was 50 million to maybe 100 million Native Americans in North America at the time, the indigenous people, before the settlers came. And then, like, at the lowest point, there was like 200 something thousand that remained in North America. And that was like systematic genocide, not just through warfare, but by cultural assimilation. By pushing back their land, annexation of land, and also by, you know, wiping out the buffalo. There's two of the great Native American or indigenous area leaders at the time, Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. How they actually defeated Sitting Bull was he was forced northward because the buffalo was become so scarce that he decided to follow the buffalo north instead of continuing on his insurrection that they were fighting against the American government at the time. And Crazy Horse actually is a really horrible ending. He got stabbed to death on a reservation because he was making a complaint about the treatment of the Native Americans at the time. And he was a fascinating character as well. There's another guy called Blackfish as well. He was a fascinating character. And then there's a guy... what's his name? There's a guy. Oh, sorry. There's an American general, and his name actually has a Native American name in the middle of it. And so he was Blackfish's stepson, and he was it Tecumseh? I say just to prove it. Just to prove it, I didn't Google it. I remembered before I Googled it. But his name is his name is Tecumseh, and he was fascinating. He actually created the Pan Indian nation.
Yeah.
So it was one of the best grouping of Native Americans and pretty much getting all these different tribes to coexist and to pretty much actually rise up and fight as one cohesive unit. And how they actually end up being defeated was the fucking British. And the British were helping them in the fight against the Americans. There was this big, massive pitched battle, in a sense, in the woods, because at this stage they were fighting guerrilla tactics, which always suits smaller force, more mobile force. You don't fight pitched battles. That's a thing of, like, you only do that when you have the superior force or the superior ground or whatever.
Right.
But Tecumseh, pretty much, he set up, not to ramble on too much about this, but he set up in the woods, and then the British were further along. The British were the front line. So pretty much the British were supposed to take the brunt of the American attack, and then Tecumseh's forces, I think, were supposed to reinforce and mop it up. And what happened was he said they were waiting for pretty much the Americans to come first to attack, because they were expecting at whatever stage that the front lines would be coming back. But what happened was the British actually came in contact with them first, and he was like, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah. What he didn't realize was the British just retreated immediately, pretty much, just fucking fell back. And because they just pretty much retreated, Tecumseh and his forces weren't set. They got fucking wiped out, if I remember correctly, by the Americans, because I only saw really one or two documentaries about it. But there's a guy called William Tecumseh Sherman, and he was actually a famous general in the Union Army against the Confederacy. And he got his middle name from Native American leader, which I thought was kind of fascinating as well. But yeah, like, American history is fascinating. But like, when you come back to kind of circle back to what we're talking about, when you have like peyote and ayahuasca, cannabis, cocaine, like all of these were contained within South America and North America at the time. So like it makes sense to see. That's what I'm saying. It's a chicken egg thing. Were they spiritualistic because they imbibe drugs or narcotics, or
but if you consume psilocybin, right, and you have a conversation with something that feels like another entity from like another world, what does that do to you? Does that make you religious? And is that where religion comes from? That's a very interesting
insane.
question, because how can you really prove it? Everybody's had their own, people throughout history have loved to try to figure out their own origins of things. And that's where you get the mythology and gods, and all of that just gets so fucking wacky, especially I love it like ancient Egypt, because in old Egypt, multiple gods, at least 3 at all times, kind of rotating around like a roster in a football team. But for a little bit there was one guy who was like, guess what? Only one God. Boom. Him right there. I'm on the sun. We're done. Just him. Monotheism came out of one guy saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, Akhenaten. It was Tutankhamun's father. So he tried
his mother was
say,
Nefertiti,
hey,
wasn't it? So
yeah, so he's trying to say, hey man, only one God. As soon as he died, they're like, get that shit the fuck out of here. Back to polytheism and all that. But it's the same kind of thing. You already have your religious setup, but this one guy just came by and he was like, guess what? There's only one God now. Fuck your other gods.
Yeah, and he was trying to take the influence as well from the priesthood. That's a big thing. Like, he was trying to, in a lot of ways, you can see it as he was trying a theological revolution, but I think a lot of it was probably a political thing as well, because what he was trying to do is he was trying to wrestle the power from the upper classes, which were the priesthood and stuff like that. So he was trying to wrestle the power from them and create a new upper class, new lineage.
Well, that's where a lot of
he died.
That's where a lot of the downsides of the ancient Egyptian culture were, because only the upper class, priest class, could read the hieroglyphics. You had a bunch of history, but you then had to have sub-languages outside of that. But then the main majority of people fucking forgot, man. You had so many intermediate periods in Egypt where they did not know what the fuck was happening. Too many rulers, too many things popping up here and there for them to actually figure it out. So who's to say, but then now moving away from that, hieroglyphics, and then having the Greco-Roman, because as soon as Alexander the Great came in, that Ptolemaic rule, man, it's not old kingdom, but that was the first time Egypt really got conquered, and they,
Well, would the sea people being
the first time I guess was like the sea people. They were always getting conquered. Now that I'm thinking of it, sea people.
But they were all
Hittites,
in a sense they were getting. They were constantly at war. They weren't always getting conquered. They were fighting the Nubans, the Nubians.
Yeah.
The
Hittites, the Cushites. They were fighting with, and then just Upper and Lower Egypt itself was fighting.
And was the Carthaginians back then, or they would have been after?
Carthaginians, I don't know.
Because they fought the Romans, the Carthaginians.
History. But when you look at it, now look at Plato's text, where he goes to, Plato or Pliny the Elder. They go to Egypt, they check it out. Pliny the Elder looks at the labyrinth and says, holy shit, this is impressive. Plato talking to someone about Atlantis, oh yeah, no, we used to be a vassal state of Atlantis, but they sunk under the sea. Fuck them. They had all this knowledge, but all that knowledge would have disappeared as soon as the priestly class went away.
Dude, I just came up with something, right? So if the sea people, stick with me here for a sec, right? So if the sea people were, just imagine, right, that the Atlanteans, the sea people were the leftovers from Atlantis, right? And you just touched on something. You said, right, so when Solon went to Egypt, he spoke with the high priest, and he passed on the message to Plato, and that's where we get our modernistic version of the destruction of Atlantis, okay? But you just said that Egypt was once a vassal state of Atlantis, all right? So what if, when Atlantis was facing massive destruction, they sent out like a fucking SOS? All these great Bronze Age empires, like the Mycenaeans, the Egyptians, whatever, yeah? And nobody answered. And then Atlantis suffered massive destruction, yeah? And then whoever survived,
Because Atlantis was 9,000, was around the Younger Dryas time frame of like 10,000, 12,000 years ago. And
how long ago was the
Bronze Age was like, Younger Dryas is here, Bronze
way
Age
before.
yeah. So timeline doesn't add up there, but Egypt being there, because when they look back at their DNA,
was the Bronze Age before the Ice Age?
After.
Yeah, so the Younger Dryas is after the Ice Age.
No, Ice Age is here. Younger Dryas is what ended the Ice Age, and then you go on to the Bronze Age, and then into the Dark Ages and such. So Bronze Age is like Greece, and to Roman time frame, the Minoans are.
Because I was thinking that maybe the sea people were some of the survivors from Atlantis, and nobody answered their SOS calls, so they went and attacked all these empires.
When you look at it, the origin of Egypt is that the god Osiris came with knowledge. People were already living in Egypt when Osiris came and spreading knowledge of agriculture and architecture and math and all that. People were already living there. That's part of their whole, mythology there.
How advanced were people during the Ice Age?
Well, rocks. What can you make with rocks and sticks? That's kind of where we're at now. How much did they have? Because we know now that Neanderthals had fat rendering facilities to where they just had places just to render fat.
This is what I'm saying. Like how impeded. Because we always picture this Ice Age, this great frozen wasteland. That's what it's there. That's what it is in our mind. But like, how impeded really were humans by the Ice Age is what I kind of want to know. Like, how technologically advanced were we?
Even if you look at Doggerland, with Dodgerland, there's walkways, wooden walkways they found in the bogs. So clearly they knew how to make a walkway in a bog, so they know how to make a path. They have certain knowledge of manipulating wood. It's just wood doesn't last that long if it's not living. Yeah. If a tree doesn't get taken out by disease or anything like that, it'll supposedly just keep going. So.
Well, yeah. It's usually a lot of the time, though, they start to rot, don't they die over time? Certain trees, no?
Well, with disease and like bacteria, that'll take it out. But the tree itself, they can keep going.
So do they continue to grow or just to continue to exist?
To grow. Yeah. They continue to grow. Rings on the tree. Keep going. Supposedly.
Yeah, but they just grow outwards. No. They don't continue to grow.
Up and out. They stop at a certain point. To talk about more shit.
It's probably adjudicated by sunlight.
Yeah, but I mean, just looking at the span of humans, because you look at like the rainforest and certain things, they see trees in the rainforest, they're like, oh, this isn't supposed to be here. It was because we were there. We planted these trees for food, fucked off, and they kept growing. Great soil.
What do you make of that soil? The
Terra Preta?
Rainforest.
Man.
Terra Preta, yeah.
They had some kind of ancient knowledge, but that goes back to like the shamanism thing, to where if I have a family recipe, right, for let's say I got the best chicken noodle soup in the fucking universe, award-winning chicken noodle soup, right? Passed down through fucking generations. We use the same bowls, same everything. That's like kind of like the same thing there, when you look at any kind of ritualistic things like medicine or things that you would learn. Oh, well, this is something that I would learn. I can remember this, and I can remember the recipe accurately through how, all these generations of people. And yeah, you add I add salt. We actually got pepper in these days, so we had a little pepper in there too. So there's different things that'll change and evolve along the way, but I think you could still look at some core principles of like bringing it back to the apes, first popping them patties over, because in nature, you have chimpanzees going out of their way to get fucked up on fermented fruit. Even the fucking factoid in that video where he's saying that they will neglect their children and just haphazardly practically throw their bodies in front of predators. And it's just
get a horse.
Fuck these kids. I'm going in that tiger's mouth right now. Nah, man, it's just the fermented fruit. It's just the apples. You don't want to do that.
Do you think if a tiger eats a drunk chimpanzee, the tiger gets fucked up?
Nah, it would just add a little flavor. You know what I mean? Like adding alcohol onto your dish,
wine.
You know, adds just like a little flavor, a little caramelization to the liver.
I highly recommend the fermented monkey.
You know, I mean, maybe some people wouldn't like it. You know, I like my liver's non-tainted with the alcohol. You know, maybe they get more like nutrition or something out of it. Maybe the non-drinkers are the first people to go. You never know. I might be first on that tiger's list because I got a nice, decent liver. You know, they grow.
Our liver is the only organ that can regrow itself, regenerate, isn't it?
Yet.
That's when you donate a liver.
Yet.
Yeah.
So far.
Well, like naturally occurring, because I think like if any kind of organ regeneration will be synthetic. So like it'll be synthetic replacements. Which, man, this have you ever seen Repo Man with Jude Law?
Yeah.
This is the fucking dude. Everything is like, this is my worry, right? This is my worry. Is everything is a subscription now. I can't even use my fucking writing software to write my novels unless I pay for my Microsoft subscription. All right, so like literally everything's subscription. This is what I'm worried about. So if we have synthetics to shit, right? You watch the Jude Law movie Repo Man. So everything is like a subscription. So this is my main concern.
There's a Black Mirror episode on that too. Black Mirror did it with the woman. So they found a tumor in her head. They replaced that with the part of the brain, and they're like, "Yeah, well, guess what? You got a monthly subscription now. I'm so sorry."
Yeah, you need to go to the platinum level if you don't want to listen to ads and shit like that.
You know what I mean?
This is where it's going. You know what I mean? Like,
that episode was rough too. I couldn't even watch the rest of that season. I was like, "Look, if this is what you're starting with, I'm out. I'm out."
Dude, it's an anthology. Don't be a pussy.
That one broke me, man. Black Mirror. Some of the stuff that happens on that, you're like, no, that's happening now. Oh my god. So it's like,
do you believe in systematic programming?
Systematic
programming.
How do you mean?
Like, so when you watch a thing like Black Mirror, okay?
Yeah.
You watch any of these science fiction things, or just like I've seen someone talking a bit about the Spielberg movie Disclosure. So do you think that the things that we see in our pop culture and in our natural zeitgeist, do you think that is given to us out of people's imagination? So just like, oh, this is the way I perceive things are going to go? Or do you think it's like you believe in the whole thing where people say we're being programmed? So by the time these things occur naturally, like alien disclosure, digital currency, like subscriptions, synthetic, blah, 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 organs, whatever, that we're spoon-fed these over a certain period of time. So by the time it actually becomes day-to-day life, that we've actually been programmed to accept it as a norm because we've been ingesting it through our...
I just had this thought that the next level of that programming would be that all that's genetic. We did this already. Boom. You know, like the seventh great restart of civilization or whatever. What if we already been here? Matrix style, man.
You think it's simulation work?
Nah, not a simulation. But I think, you know, like what if we got to some level of normal modern culture, you know, we see things like in the top of the mountains of Peru with the pre-Incan Andes, the stonework that they do, and almost like the melding and melting of stone that just puddles and molds together. Some impossible shit that we can't even do today. There's some level of technology there that was lost. And it's not just in Peru. You see that with different places to where they have these huge, like I think it's on the Parthenon, this huge stone. Nah, we'll just build up on it. Yeah, we'll build up on it and we'll move it around. Nobody walks around the back to see that gigantic stone of the Parthenon, but it's there. How'd they get?
No, I think it's Baalbek. It's not. No.
Was it? No, I thought it was the Parthenon that was on that. was on.
I think it's Baalbek in Lebanon. No.
Well, there may be both, but I was pretty sure that it was right on the Parthenon because nobody walks around the back end of the Parthenon. It is a little bit of a distance. It's a bit of a hike. So I know there was one there, and then there was obviously the questions about the Sphinx and stuff in Egypt. But that's where you get to the most. They're finding old human remains, and even I think they found one of a pre-Neanderthal, like a Homo. It was one of the ape line they found, but it wasn't in southern Africa. It was more towards the northwestern or northeastern part of Africa. So it's more in the
Homo erectus, maybe.
No, it wasn't Homo erectus. It was after that. It was like a whole new breed that they found. I think I saw it on History with Kaylee's page a couple days ago. But they found like a whole new breed, and it's showing. I mean, it's like 16, 17 million years old. So huge numbers back there, but it's showing like, hey, we think it happened here because we found a lot of shit that's that old. Doesn't mean that is the end all be all of where the cradle of life is all the way down here. It's definitely, I think, in Africa. I think it was definitely.
Do you think that like our evolution happened organically, or do you think that it was manipulated at some stage?
Oh, the alien theory? I don't know. That's a good one.
Well, I didn't say alien theory. I just think like maybe we were in like an advanced civilization that might have existed on Earth.
I mean, it could have been advanced civilization. I mean, but I think it did. I mean, there's something that happened where the human brain jumped forward in an insanely small amount of time. What happened there?
2 million years ago.
Because you're telling me it's not the mushrooms. So what did it then? What caused that massive jump? Now, it couldn't. Was it just, hey, we found fire, and we started eating things, unlocking more nutrition with fire? I don't think so, because you have animals that discover how to cook food naturally in the wild. You know what I mean? It's not outside of the realm of possibility to see an animal using a tool. Orangutans use tools. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's necessarily that. I think there may be a little bit of both. Maybe if aliens came down, piddled in a little bit, unlocked some things, that'd be cool. But I think it was most likely natural. It was just taking a long time. Probably longer than we think.
Like if I was to say it right, for an example, if it was Darwinistic evolution, okay, that occurred naturally over a period of time, and then if you look at our genome, they say that we're quite closely related to higher primates, like other hominids, like the gorillas, chimpanzees, yada yada. Okay, so if that's the case, why did our evolutionary tract go in such a different direction to our evolutionary cousins? That's what fascinates me.
Well, yeah.
Why didn't they naturally occur that way?
Well, there's always going to be some left behind, because you look at now, there are some people who are still living in a non-technological world. They're living in huts and teepees and fishing and hunting with spears and shit right now. So there's that kind of level of disconnect of how.
But they have a sense of technology, though. They can control fire. They have communities. They have language.
Well, yeah. So, well, and there's mourning and love and all that in those cultures of species as well. So, that's kind of that's kind of where, how do how are you really gonna know? How are you going to find out? There's only so much you could find out. And we can find out a lot of fucking information, especially like just on the climate, the temperature, dietary restrictions and shit.
Linear evolution.
I mean, evolution in some way, because you can see it. It's happening right in front of us. And then, I just can't, I can't imagine what things would evolve into after us.
Yeah, but do you believe humanity evolved linearly as a species? Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't think anybody can really find that out unless you were there. I mean, linearly A to B, I don't think anything in this world happens just as flat as that on paper.
Like, do you think things like, just say it, right, dwarfism or whatever comes from interbreeding with these other like Homo floresiensis and like smaller hominids, and that's how we created that as a recessive gene within our gene pool, in the same way that Neanderthal genes show up in our gene pool, even though we're Homo sapien or whatever, you know?
I don't know, because the red hair
People be fucking, is what I'm saying.
was a very common trait in Neanderthals. And even in Europeans up till about like 3,000 years ago, dark skin and red hair was very common. So, how did that become a recessive gene as opposed to everything else of like black hair, brown hair, and all the other traits? That's the interesting bit of like genealogy that gets in there.
I think it's the shift in habitats. So, like, do you know the way like animals have certain fur color to match their environments? Do you think like our natural hair color comes from, like, if you look at my hair color, that you could probably, like, if I had a bit more of that on my face, if I was even fucking hairier, that like I could probably like mask myself in like a woodland area. Like, do you think like the red hair thing, like, do you think that evolved out because the surroundings, people with red hair, it's very easy to spot someone with red hair in the woods?
Well, I mean,
like, you know what I mean?
ultimately, that's tricky because it comes down to the genetics. It comes down to your environment as well, because all that has a play. That's obviously what we're finding out in the world of plastic right now. Obviously, our environment isn't a big factor of that. Disease, that's another big thing that can alter your DNA. So where was it altered? You know what I mean? Especially without like good written record. That's where I feel like you're really not. I don't see how they could figure it out, but however they could put the pieces together, we'll get some kind of answers. But I mean, there's
like, gun to your head, right? Do you think there was a level of sophistication in the history of our planet in the terms of the way we've reached right now as a society? Like, do you think there was pre-historical civilizations that reached a certain level of sophistication? Something occurred, there was a restart, something like, and then they reached another.
It's like
restart,
the old flight theory, right? Were the Wright brothers the first to actually fly? Well, Da Vinci had plans for flying machines. You tell me he didn't try?
Aerial screw.
Maybe he tried. Maybe he was successful in some points, but you weren't there. You don't know. So that's where, how can we tell? It's like who was the first to invent the wheel? Because you see those fucking cart paths into stone that shows, damn, maybe that was a cart path. Maybe it was just somebody with like a sledge, just a regular sledge carving pathways into it. But you don't know, you weren't there. But technology, I think if you're looking at the brain structure being the same in modern humans for about 200,000 years, and wood is pretty malleable. It's very forgiving when you're trying to make it into stuff. So the one creative person, the stuff lost to time. I mean, the amount of creative endeavors that, people could have gotten into only to be blamed that, oh, that's witchcraft, It's not witchcraft. I'm just washing my hands. You're a witch!
Have you ever heard of the ergot thing? The Salem witch trials.
Oh, the ergot, yeah, man.
Because we're talking about psychedelics and fungi and shit like that. So, like anybody doesn't know that there's a theory that the Salem witch trials was all based around at that time they had wheat, and if frost attaches itself to wheat, that can create a mold-like substance called ergot that has similar side effects to LSD. So
and
a lot of people think that the witch
kill you, by the way. It can also fucking kill you. The little side effect there they don't tell you about, but yeah, no, it can also kill you. But I mean, ergot, and you also look at the ergot in the wine and eat in for like the Oracle of Delphi, That's the thing, man. Drugs were such a huge, prevalent thing. Think of half of the lame, just the lame ideas you have, just sitting getting high with your friends. That happened thousands of years ago too. You know what I mean?
Like, lateral drinking. That's not what the guy called it in the video. Lateral drinking.
We'll go back 250 years ago. Founding fathers smoking their trash ass weed in their pubs, thinking of fucking revolution against England. You know, we're at the 250th anniversary over here in the States.
You think they're like,
I mean,
seriously, like, fuck the British, like, taxation without representation.
Well,
they're like,
and then you look at it like Shakespeare. They found in his garden, they found residue of marijuana. So they found hemp in Shakespeare's smoking pipes. This man was smoking weed, writing down A Midsummer Night's Dream, and coming up with a character like Puck. Of course this man was high. The drugs were such a bigger factor.
You believe Shakespeare really existed?
Really, what?
Have you ever heard that theory that Shakespeare didn't exist?
Oh, yeah, I heard that he was like multiple people. I think it was one guy. It was one stoner who just was really fucking smart, and people couldn't believe it.
Like Stephen King.
I mean,
he was just like really prolific, and I think that's the
I mean, you look at Shakespeare, and then especially like a mind like that being so forward thinking in his writing. People remaking Romeo and Juliet and still doing Macbeth. That's a sign of status, I believe, over there across the pond for you guys, because you guys like the theater over film traditionally, especially I think more over in the UK. Very theatrical place. All the actors, they're working to get into the theater, as opposed to America. They're working to get into film and get out of the theater. So
I studied Shakespeare in school, Hamlet.
The work being like having that much. Imagine like one Lonely Lighthouse. 200 fucking years from now, somebody's writing down and analyzing. Oh, I hate this old Earth English. Writing down, analyzing what the fuck did he mean by this note and this saying?
Dude, like when I'm writing We Are Many right now, it's like it's cool for me because my brain got rewired from writing River Bones and Lonely Lighthouse back to back, because River Bones is set in 1870. The vernacular is completely different than what I would use as a Midlands person in Ireland. Yeah. I think I spoke to you about this before. Yeah. Lonely Lighthouse is 1900s, and I had to learn all these fucking technical terms that lighthouse keepers use, like wiki and stag light and clockworks and lantern room and what. And I'm like, or watch room, and I'm just like, so when I started writing We Are Many, which is set in like the 40s or 50s, I haven't really nailed it exactly, but it's set in Cold War-ish, and that's just like every now and again you throw in a dame or whatever, or broad or whatever, like you know what I mean? Yeah, but it's more fucking colloquially similar to what I use every day, so it's been more fun writing that, and I get to make pop culture references from back in the day.
Well, you still get those some of those idioms. Like my favorite one is from Golden Age comic of Iron Man and Captain America talking together, and Iron Man is like, sounds like you need some solid dick from Iron Man. But that was like honest speak back in the day. So the weird, things that are not used today, that are used back then, words change and words are weird.
Yeah, but what do you think of the natural progression of language that we're living with today, with like,
oh man,
the slang it's like idiocracy. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, I mean, language, written language, proto language, the pictographic languages. I think that's really where it started to kind of
the universal language.
I think that kind of clicked together for people. Where even in Egypt you see that they use like feather, fish. They use these pictures in their actual wording, which, that's the first, they say with the linguists, they said that's the first step. You have a pictographic language. It makes easier for people. And even I think the the podcast we did with Michael not too long back, they found a pictographic language. It was a proto-cuneiform language, right? And that was like 12,000 years old on mammoth bone. So there's definitely this need. You want to have something written down so you don't have to remember it. It frees you up. You know what I mean? So especially in the thick, you're in the hunt. Oh, well, when did these deer come? Oh, in the spring. Okay. Yeah, we're in the right spring. So then they put it back. I could see that, you know? That's like referencing something on your phone and putting it back. Having easily referenced materials, especially when you look at the first computer, the ancient Greek machine, which told them about the solstice and the eclipses and where the planets are aligning. They had a fucking computer. The first calendars were made into gigantic fucking stone circles. These people were always trying to make things easier for ourselves.
Is it called the Amascara device?
Oh, I forget. But
that's, it was found on like
the Abascara, Abadabadoo. Yeah, it was
Amascara.
It's something like that. Abascara. Yeah, the device from Greece. But that sounds right. But you have that device where you're tracking the moon.
Antikythera.
Yeah, that's it. But you have that. They're fucking tracking the planets. So, you know, there was a level of
if you go
knowledge.
back as far as, think about it though, like that's not like uncommon for people, because if you go back as far as the Sumerians, they had a great knowledge of the solar system, and the Dogon in Africa, they have great knowledge of. They talk about things that we can't see with the naked eye. So like today, so maybe they talk about as well, light pollution, blah blah blah. But
and then you look at,
it's interesting.
You look at the sign of the yin yang. Very popular, especially over in China and even in Japan. But then they fucking took a picture of an atom, and it looked like a fucking, I think it was an atom. Was it it was like a proton. That's what it was. They took a picture of a proton, and it looked like a yin yang symbol. It could be coincidence. You know what I mean? That could be coincidence. But man, did it look like it. You know what I mean? And especially since you have these stories of, terrestrial people or space people coming down and talking to people. What information were the aliens telling these early humans? You know what I mean?
Like, also, isn't the symbol for like medicine? The symbol for medicine is not like a sword and a snake or two snakes entwining, and it looks like
which ties into, I forget
the double helix
of Greece, it was Greco-Roman mythology. That's where the snake and the scepter symbol for the medical term.
Medicine. But it looks like the double helix.
Yeah, it does. And that's the crazy part about it, is the coincidence and symbology, right? And especially how it comes into play later on when we see all these ties together. But it's a lot like thinking they knew what they were doing in Lost. You know what I mean? They didn't. They had a whole bunch of plot holes and threads they left out everywhere, but they didn't know what they were doing in Lost. I think it's the same thing. It's more coincidence that the yin yang and the helix and the double helix and stuff like that. I think it's more coincidence that we're just getting very cool. Humans start to recycle ideas.
I think it's subliminal memory. I think it's memory that we lost. Like, because one thing I'd like to know throughout history was information lost or were we deprived of information? And subliminally, we still remember these things because it's too coincidental to have, what is it, coalescent protons or something that look like the yin and yang symbol, that the symbol for medicine, the historical symbol for medicine, happens to look like the double helix. Like, these things, it's too coincidental. Like, it's one thing when if it was an instance where you have so the yin and yang literally means perfect coexistence, and you look at the two protons, they're perfectly in coexistence together. I think it's called coalescence, and it's the context and how these symbols are used is it's beyond coincidental. It's like subliminal messaging. Like it'd be one thing if something that looked like a double helix was used for warfare, but it wasn't. It was used for medicine.
Well, what about like I just had this thought of like, what about those people, those little kids who will come and tell their parents like that they remember their past life? You know, you get those young kids. First lady told me Sophia did it to her, said she was a murderer in her past life. And it's not the first time I've heard like a child coming up and saying, oh, I know where the body was buried. Because that was me. I died there in my past life. There's weird shit like that happens too. What is that? Is that
proof of simulation or reincarnation? And is reincarnation just simulation, like respawning again?
You know, I mean, like, so energy is not created or destroyed. It's transfer states. So
yeah,
it makes sense with the whole reincarnation thing, but to a certain point, you know, especially because in kids, we know that the brain is not done developing. It's growing, it's moving, it's changing. So the soul kind of getting settled in the new body. And then as you're a kid, like, oh yeah, I remember that. Fucking weird, right?
And what if your inner monologue is you sharing?
Ooh.
Like so if you look at Bob Lazar, right? Bob Lazar speaks about there's this massive was it S4? There's a massive document on religion, and he speaks about how in there whatever these higher beings are, whether they be aliens or whether they be humans from another dimension, blah blah blah, right? So they say that our physical form is a vessel, and he's like, a vessel for what? A vessel for souls. So we talk about lately, a lot of people speak about how NPCs is the terminology we use from computer games, you know, an unplayable character, how certain people don't have inner monologues. And they say that these people might be proof of cloning or whatever. So, right, if you want to coalesce all these ideas, what if the people that have inner monologues, you're sharing your vessel with somebody else, and it's like a shared reincarnation, and the people that don't have inner monologues, they're just like fucking newbies.
Even worse.
You know what I mean? Like, so,
even worse is you're a fucking Temu for extra dimensional being. I'm tuning into Vinny today. And they just hop into your fucking corporeal corpse.
Show. My life is so boring.
Hell, that's like an extra dimensional version of that South Park episode where Earth is just a reality show.
It's like, what if every time you're dreaming is that, like, I always had this thing that when you dream, it's just you seeing into a different alternate version of yourself. So,
that's kind of weird.
When you
that one's kind of weird, you know, especially we just watched the Multiverse of Madness, and that they had that in that movie too, and it's kind of weird to think like that dream you had was actually you in another universe. I mean, that would explain some of my dreams because they're boring as fucking shit. It's just me sitting here.
Yeah, or why some dreams seem so real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there's like premonition dreams that show you the future, you know, the deja vus and all that. What is that? Is that crossed moments in the multiverse? You know what I mean? Like the cross moment in the multiverse, it comes over. Oh shit, you weren't supposed to get that file yet. You know, like getting a page from later on in the book. No, you're not supposed to see that.
Do you believe in the multiversal theory?
I mean, there's so much else to this world that we can't explain. Ghosts, divine intervention, aliens. There's so much shit that we can't explain. the thought of there being another universe to where, instead of making a right, I went left, and it's a completely different choice set. It's a fun thought, but part of me wants to think part of me thinks that that's just like, Saturday TV, Saturday TV type of material, that this is it. But now extra dimensions and like, your soul dies here, transfers into the next plane of existence. Sure, why not? How the fuck do I know? I didn't go yet. So, and that explains.
Maybe you already have
ghosts, because then some souls hang around. They got fucking shit to do. They got, unfinished business, as they said in Casper. There's that too. So the ghost thing, that's pretty interesting. I got family members that hunt ghosts and, and different kind of stuff. I have been, I had divine intervention myself. So there's a lot of weird things that you can't really explain out there. So extra dimension, extra dimensional being, people from the other side that have already passed on. What I had this thought yesterday, because we did watch a show with a medium in it. Bro, what would happen if you got a medium stoned on psilocybin? What would they see? I think we need to find one and do a little experiment for science, for science. But what would a medium see if they were high on like ayahuasca, going into a different dimension for once, not just talking to dead people? Would it be a relief? You know what I mean? Like, oh, thank God. No, I talked to Xenu. He says hi. Like what about that? What would anything happen? Maybe it's just quiet. They're like, oh God, thank
Like
God.
I watched this show when I was a kid, called Most Haunted. It was hosted by a lady called Yvette Fielding, and they used to have this medium on it the whole time. His name was from Liverpool. His name was Derek Acora. And as the show was still running, it ran for a very long time. It's incredibly popular over here in Britain and Ireland. And Derek Acora passed away. Everyone was upset, and I was like, well, at least he gets to come back next season. It's not all bad. The good thing about a medium is you get the reoccurring role even if you pass away. But
would you want to be a medium? Like, if you could choose. I mean, if I would like
to have any kind of form of higher knowledge, yeah. Even if, because if mediums are authentic, right, and if you believe in psychics and people that can remote view and see to the other side,
right.
I think anything that like if these people are authentic, okay, I think if anything gives you a sense of a higher plane of existence or a higher understanding of our existence, I think it's a gift. It's all about how you deal with it. Like, I would fucking love to know that there's an afterlife. Like, if mediums are authentic and people, I would love to have that knowledge, because then I know if I die, I know there's something after. I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
So my belief is after I die, I go nowhere, or I return to the earth or whatever.
Well,
there's nothing for me to look forward to. But if I was a medium, I'd be like, cool.
That's the Rick and Morty episode, though, right? Like, oh, thank God you know that your religion's real. You got that actual proof, and the guy's like, proof? What are you talking about? I mean, it's just mediums, if they are real. Sometimes maybe it's how they cut it. And I'm an editor, I should know movie magic, but some of them it's just the things they say are just a little bit more than that John Edwards bullshit. You know what I mean? The cold reading and all that. Some of them are a little bit more than that, because they're just like very fucking specific.
You can do research. It goes to a place.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's the movie magic of it. Maybe they are fake, because you do research, stuff like that. There's one guy on, I think it's like Netflix or something. He's like this 19-year-old kid. He's out in like California. So he's like in the Hollywood Hills and shit doing that. He's doing a reading for somebody else. And he just, this old woman. And she's just like, I don't fucking know. Finds out, it goes, talks to this woman who is like a friend of a friend that he was, a friend of the friend he was reading, right? So she was just there. Another person was just fucking there, happened to be there, picked up on her fucking relative. And that's where I'm like, all right, shit like that, you know, if there is a real medium out there, that's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool in the same aspect that, yeah, you get that kind of closure, I guess, if you're looking for that in that person that is gone. Maybe that's more for the energy or the spirit that's on the other side. They had stuff to say to you. Because like most of these people, it was just like, oh, I haven't even thought about my mother in years. She didn't like how I'm gay and fuck her. And then all of a sudden the guy's just like, oh, she wanted to tell you she's proud of you. And he's like, oh my God. That again. And I'm like, okay, but like, you were looking for mom's approval. I understand that. Yeah, but the other people that are just like walking their dog and be like, what are you talking about? My Nana used to say that. It's a little weird when you get it on the head.
You're just giving people affirmations.
Yeah.
Like you're just giving them,
oh yeah.
It's reverse sycophantism. Like you're just, you know, you're giving them exactly what they want to hear. Like they're agreeing because you're giving them what they want to hear. You know what I mean? It's not like where sycophantism is they're agreeing because you want them to agree. Like you're spoon feeding them something that they inherently want. And of course they're going to accept it because that's the thing they want. The one thing they want more than anything is closure. So they're not going to dispute it. Like, so I don't know. I think there's enough science behind cold reading and stuff like that to prove that there is a way to siphon this information from people without them realizing. And like, there's so many people that have done it over the years.
Holy shit! Know, like, I had this question in my mind. So usually, what I do now, if I have a question in my mind and it seems ridiculously hard to research or look into, I'll use my favorite person, Grok. So I asked Grok, has a medium ever been elected to office? Obviously, we're talking about it. I'm interested. Has anybody ever elected a medium? Yes. At least one person, openly known as a psychic medium, has been elected to political office. Clearest historical example is Winifred Combe Tennant, 1874 to 1956, a Welsh liberal politician, suffragette.
It was in England.
Prominent psychic medium in spiritualistic circles. She was deeply involved in politics in the 1920s, supported Prime Minister David Lloyd George, served as the UK's first female representative to the League of Nations. Jesus Christ, you picked the psychic medium for your first female representation in the League of Nations? Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense though. The 1920s had this gigantic spiritualistic movement. That's how I knew
she was active
the name of the party that was in the 20s.
That was the next sentence. She was very active in the women's movement. So there you go.
Yeah, well, no, you said she was a suffragette as well, so yeah. That's probably what they mean by that.
She stood and ran for parliament in 1922 in the Forest of Dean constituency. While she did not win that specific seat, she was recognized, elected, and appointed figure in political and diplomatic roles. Historical accounts describe her as the psychic MP due to her public profile combining mediumship with political activity. I can only imagine how people today would use that if it was socially acceptable to say, yes, I am a psychic medium, vote for me.
You wouldn't need to ask them to vote for you because you're going to know if you win or lose if you're psychic.
So, how are you feeling about the polls? I don't need to look. You know why? Your grandmother told me that you're going to vote for me, Deborah. How do you feel about that? Do you? Oh, you feel better now, don't you? Yeah, Graham said, eat your fucking peas. Meanwhile, he's
you want to know where Granny hit the family heirlooms?
Meanwhile, he's gaslighting Graham. She was like, hey, man, I was just saying, remember when I told you to eat your peas? I didn't say anything about that vote for you. Bullshit. I'm out of here. So I don't know. I can see why they don't do it now, but it's, you know, it's nice to know that it was overseas in the UK. Once again, a lot of wacky stuff going on over there in the UK. Thank God we seceded.
The spiritualistic movement was huge in America as well.
Yeah, no. I mean, the real weird countries are the ones that didn't have a spiritual movement. Why?
Hmm.
You know, even Britain had gotten into fucking LSD and acid, you know? What happened? Open up that third eye, man.
We come from paganistic cultures, Ireland and Britain, so...
Oh, yeah, man. Pagans. You guys. Making the church, you know, making the church add on holidays and shit. How do we get the pagans on board? Add that fucking Christmas tree in there. They'll jump on board. Tie it to Jesus somehow.
That comes to me, Yuletide, which was paganistic.
Yeah, Yuletide log, the Yule log. Yeah. It's always fun seeing those memes pop up because I see those and I'm like, I'm going to remember this fact forever. When are you ever going to need it? It's like everybody's just waiting for Regis Philbin to just invite him on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Like, I've been waiting for this day.
And that's why I find it hard to sleep, because my brain remembers it all, goddamn. So my brain is like, here's this stupid little fact we learned 15 years ago for some reason. I'm like, why are we holding on to that? My brain's like, you'll see, podcast.
Yeah, you know what? And you never know. You never know when you're going to need it. You know, you might be that guy who just remembers, you know, how many, buttons were on Thomas Jefferson's shirt. Nerds come in all shapes and forms, you know? I mean...
I'm fascinated by anthropology, though, and ancient anthropology and different cultures and different mythologies. Yeah. And because like, I'm a huge movie fan, right? I used to write reviews and shit like that, and I used to have a movie podcast. I'm fascinated by stories, yeah? So the stories that I like, the reason I watch movies and TV shows and whatever is because I love stories. It's the reason I write, because I love stories and storytelling. Some of the best stories ever come from history. Yeah. That's why I'm fascinated by history, is because like I listen to like Dan Carlin's Hardcore History and stuff like this, because I just love stories, you know. And people said to me, "Would you want to be famous as a writer?" I'm like, I just want my books to be good, and I just want to write cool stories. That's it. Like, if I don't become super famous, but anybody that reads my book go, "Look, you did a good job, and it was a cool story," I'm like, cool, awesome. Like, that's what I want. I just want to write good stories, and I'm obsessed with good stories. So that's why I'm fascinated by history. And I will sit down for 6 hours and listen to a podcast about the Assyrians, and I've done that. Where there's a Dan Carlin did like a series called King of Kings, and that went on for like 4 or 5 parts, and each episode's like 5-6 hours long. I've listened to that multiple times, that entire series. Like, and I just love listening to stories, and that's one of the reasons I'm fascinated by ancient cultures, and why I constantly it's of no financial benefit to me. I don't make any money by going back and reading about ancient Egypt for hours and hours on end, or watching documentaries about pre-dynastic history or Egypt and ancient Mycenae and the Minoans and the Etruscans and
the Minoans,
the Cambrians.
You saw the Minoans. The one thing was, they didn't have city walls. They had a really decent military and a navy, and that's just how they stayed safe. They had just like today, get your military set, and then you don't have to worry about the walls. You can use that land for other real estate. But outside of that, then they were like, let's pop up these walls over here. You know?
Yeah, well, because of marauders and stuff like that.
But then go back. Where does Darren Kuyu fit into this labyrinth of, tunnels going all the way down to the water table? And it can fit thousands and thousands of people underground. Where does that fit into our history? Because obviously the immediate, quote unquote, immediate history that they say that those tunnels were used for would have been like the early Christians when they were persecuted. You know, everybody wanted to kill Christians back then. It was a cool thing to do. Kill a Christian club. But It had to go back further than that. They found those tunnels, you know, the Holy Wars and stuff like that of, you know, the Middle East, the Dark Ages or whatever, already there. How long have they been sitting there? You know,
why were they made? That's the more interesting. Not how long, why?
Yeah. Because there's that section where, hey, in some of the mythologies, there were rocks falling from the sky. How long? For 1,000 years. Was it 1,000 years or 1,000 minutes? You know, you never know how long that toddler really was sitting outside in the cold. But they tell you, I was out here forever. Was it that? Like, are they exaggerating? Like, oh, he was king for like 50,000 years, man. He was the best king. That's where, like, humans lie. Look at the ancient Egypts. They didn't lose a battle. They just won battles closer to their house.
Yeah, tactical retreats.
So it's like, I mean, you can change the narrative only so much there, my guy, before I stop believing you.
So are you of the belief that when you look at the kings list and if you look at the Sumerian kings list and stuff like that and pre-dynastic history in Egypt, are you of the belief that the reason their kings lived so long is that they measured time differently back then?
Probably. You know, I mean, but they had and this is the other thing that play devil's advocate. They had no light pollution. So they had the sun. They had the stars in the sky. And they're pretty fucking accurate. You know what I mean? Even to today, they only go a little bit, a little bit off. So it's like, how accurate is that? You know, there's a lot of stars out there. So people are very smart. They know that's the North Star. I go that way. Oh, that star's back. So it's this season, you know? I know every time I see Orion being in the Northeast, I'm going to see Orion around winter. To where if you're on the other side of the planet, you're going to see him on the other side in the summertime. So getting to know these stars and then the stories coming in along in the actual mapping of the stars, I see that happening, you know, wherever you have intelligence. Somebody's going to look up at that sky and go, holy shit, look at that. And they're going to want to make sense of their world because that's where you really feel small. When you see unmolested night sky, like you see those pictures down in like in Chile or over in Hawaii where they're above
Australia.
the clouds, and Australia, and they're like above, nope, no light pollution. And you see that fucking sky. That would captivate. You know what I mean? People would.
Do you think our fascination with space comes from the fact that as a species, we're curious and we love to go and expand and discover like the way we've done all over our planet? Or do you believe in the theory that the reason we're fascinated by space is because we originally came from there?
Damn. I mean, part of me hopes that we came from Mars. You know what I mean? Just planet hopping. Ooh, that one, solar flare knocked out the atmosphere in that one. Oh, let's go over there. You know, that's why we got that other backup planet, stupid. You know, it was kind of like, that's a nice thought, but, you know, it's kind of limiting the thought of human or even life on this planet, you know? You look at how many stars are in the sky and which one of those actually has some kind of life on it. Even if it's not to our level, there's definitely one of those with some kind of bacteria, some kind of amoeba or some other kind of life. So it just depends on your definition of what life is, because they find the building blocks of DNA and RNA in asteroids all the time. So what is that? Is this just an inevitability of life?
You're talking about panspermia.
Yeah, like is this just an inevitability? You give it enough time, asteroids don't fucking knock your planet enough, you get life. You know, like a fucked up sea monkey package.
Yeah, I've had sea monkeys.
Like a cosmic sea monkey package. Like, no, this is your
brine
planet.
shrimp.
You put your sea monkeys in there, and then you let it grow. Just knock out the asteroids that come to take them out, and then they'll grow. And then after a while, you'll see a whole bunch of trash in their atmosphere. Just starts collecting. Eventually, they'll get rid of it.
That's the thing, though, that kind of like always fascinates me is that like I spoke about this before, like linear evolution and like if you look at Mars, right, and if you believe in some of the things that have been discovered there, one that looks like the base of a pyramid, there's the face on Mars, and I know they say that they've gone back and they've looked at it from a different angle, and it doesn't look as anthropomorphized as we originally thought it was.
I mean, cameras really sucked back then. So, and it's just like,
look at Artemis too. The cameras suck now.
Well, that's true. How many fucking pieces of grilled cheese do we have to see on the internet that are shaped like fucking Jesus or the Virgin Mary? You know what I mean? Human beings loved it's a natural trick with your mind to try to make it look like a face. Yeah, it's just like that's your brain on that one. Just
like if a civilization did occur on Mars, how long does it take for a civilization to no longer exist that almost all evidence of their existence becomes non-existent?
Well, that's the thing. Sense. There was that one show on History Channel, Life After People.
Yeah.
And what was it like? Pretty much like 100,000 years, and we're not even here.
It's like
I think all the cities and stuff.
It's like how total of dissolving of our society. Like how total is? Do you mean our existence would be completely wiped off? Like there'd be no evidence of our existence in 100,000 years?
Well, I mean,
there was a massive event.
Oh yeah, 100,000 years just from the natural course of nature and moving and everything. We're fucking.
And how
we're gone.
How old is the Earth? 14.5 billion years.
Yeah, something like that. 14, I think. Yeah.
No, 14 billion years is the universe.
Yeah. That was the.
And 4.5 billion years is the Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, 4.5. Yeah.
Right,
what do you mean, Vinny? It's clearly only about 2,000 years old. That's what the book says.
So if you say the complete evidence of an advanced civilization, a global civilization such as the current state of humanity, if you say within 100,000 years all evidence of our existence can be wiped out if we no longer existed, if we weren't able to continue to build, right? The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. If in 100,000 years, an entire civilization, especially a global one such as ourselves, can be wiped out of existence and all evidence can be wiped off the map, then how likely is it that we're the first iteration of humanity in terms of an advanced global civilization?
Well, and here's this thing, right? Because petrification for fossils, it's not like every set of bones are going to do that.
Very
specific set of occurrences that has to happen for this thing to turn into a rock. So and I guess kind of ignoring the fact that they think that oil is a natural process produced by the earth. I think I saw that some scientists are putting that out there, that it's just
dinosaurs
leaks out of the mantle instead of dinosaurs. That's the alternate theory. So if you take that into account of okay, time and pressure making a diamond. Sure. So with enough time and pressure, anything can happen. So sure, maybe it can turn into oil. And there's a lot of that stuff. We look at Mount Everest. There's clear evidence of the sea being that high. So the earth going through all these shifts and changes, how can we be certain? We can't, especially if you're looking at like steel and all this stuff being able to crumble, and when it's not properly maintained, especially when you're looking at skyscrapers, they're fucking gone. When they're gone and everything's done and rubbleized, the earth crust fucking moving, million years we're not here, none of this shit is around. You know? And that's
Except
where
the
one of my favorite anime, Dr. Stone, that was one of their things, is that pretty much almost everything was gone. All of the world was turned into stone. And through a petrification beam. So the one guy, Senku, after I think it was 57, it was something like 3,000 or 5,000 years pass until he is able to wake back up. Everything's gone. That's where we're looking at. Thousands of years, we blip off this fucking planet. It's just going to fucking crumble. Everything's going to eventually go back. So how can we be sure that didn't happen before?
That's what
there's those specific instances. It's a lot like where they know there was Homo forensis. They first found that from a fucking tooth. One tooth. They're like, hey, this is a whole new species. Imagine knowing teeth that much. Not even to just know, oh, that's an ancient human tooth. That's a 12-year-old tooth. That's a dinosaur tooth. Then to being going, oh, I don't know what that tooth is. That's a completely new species, clearly. Just from looking at a fucking tooth. That is some nerdy shit right there.
Well, what you do is you extract DNA from it. You can tell from the DNA coding that it would be similar to humans, but it would have a different pattern.
Well, yeah, but some
that's how
people,
they can tell,
they know, oh, this is the jaw. This is not from any known jaw. There's people that have that fucking intricate knowledge out there that they're just like, oh, no, that's a chicken bone. You show me a chicken bone, a human finger bone, put them next to each other, I probably won't be able to fucking pick. I won't be able to tell.
A bird bone is hollow, so.
Well, now I'll know to look out for that. But
that makes it easier for them to fly and stuff.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, man. How can we be sure? I mean, we can be sure it's not, the earth ain't hollow. It's not hollow. It's not flat. We're not on a turtle's back. That was my favorite ancient theory. The world was on like a back of a turtle. I love the turtle theory.
Yeah, I think that is just symbolism of we're slowly rotating some shit.
Yeah, well, it's once you got out of the we are the center of the universe theory. But if the ancient Greeks were mapping planets in the sky and accurately tracking them to be able to tell you, yeah, this is this.
Who figured that out? Copernicus? No.
Well, how did they know? If they knew, because, it was Galileo, right? He was the one to tell everybody, we are not the center of the universe. Greeks didn't know that beforehand? They had this whole little fucking computer that could tell you exactly where the things are in the sky. To where maybe a wider acceptance, sure. But, there's definitely got to be somebody going, I don't know, man. I don't think that's right.
I think a lot of it as well, the major pushback against science was a lot of people in prehistory and history thought it was an assault on religion. Mm-hmm. That, like, any scientific pursuit was an attack on theology.
Well, yeah, but how much closer to flying cars would we have been? Like, would I have been a kid with flying cars if, religion didn't fucking muck its way into our history so much?
I don't know why people want flying cars, because I see how people drive on roads, dude. Like,
that's a
you
good
don't
point.
want cars falling from the skies all over the time. Like, if there's if you believe in the general consensus that there's 8 billion people on the planet, and probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 billion of them drive at least. You don't want that amount of people in the fucking sky, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and borders would become almost non-existent. Even having people shot out of the sky constantly and shit.
I was just saying to the first lady in traffic the other day that I can't wait for autonomous cars to come in and clean all this shit up. Get the power out of these fucking people's hands. Let's clean up these roads and get the autonomous drivers in there. My God.
I disagree with that. I think we need to stop giving away our freedoms.
No, man. School of Fish. Just get all the little schools, because you will get so much more. Everything will get us so much more quicker and efficient when it's not being human controlled.
Look at the protests in Ireland at the moment, where all these people are using the right to assembly and right to protest the fascist government, all right? So what we're doing is we are using our ability to get our vehicles, massive trucks, tractors, buses, and park them up and block off major motor arteries and block off oil refineries and stuff like that. If all the cars were autonomous, what's to stop the government from going to that company and saying override that and get them to clear out? So we can't keep giving away our freedoms. They're talking about a cashless society, digital IDs. Like they say, oh yeah, I know our phone tracks us, blah blah blah. Well, I can still take cash out of an ATM, and the government just know what I spend that cash on. It's none of their fucking business. It's cash I work for. So like, and digital IDs or I use my digital wallet sometimes, but most of the time I use a card or I use cash. But like, we need to stop giving away these freedoms willingly. So if we have autonomous cars, like I said, the right to protest in Ireland right now, what if all those vehicles are autonomous? And what if it's a state-owned company, or if it's a semi-state-owned company, or if it's a private company that gets massive tax rebates from the Irish government, just like a Tesla, and they own the wealth of the Irish vehicle fleets or whatever. We block up all these places, and then it goes to ring up their headquarters. I need an override code running up there right now and take all these cars off the road. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah, I could see. I could definitely see it happening, but that's where you got to have the powers in place. But that's one of the things. It was one of the weirdest recalls I ever had when I was working for Dodge. Dodge had this recall. They had to give you new software in your car to protect against people being able to hack it. So people were able to hack in, control your steering wheel, your gas, your brake pedal, and this was like a bunch of them that were on the roads. So what they did is they just sent people a little USB stick, just plug it in, keep your car on, upload it, and then you'd be good. People still couldn't get that to work. They couldn't figure out how to do the upload. So they would come into the dealership and they'd have us download it. They literally sent you the fucking file, and they still couldn't figure it out. So they paid somebody else to do it. Come in, upload the file. And this is just so people could not hack your car. And this was back in the early 10s. So the early 2010s this was. And that's not even, you think of like a 2010 car. It's like my car now. Not that, not a lot of bells and whistles. There's not like Apple CarPlay. My phone doesn't pop up on here. I don't have like everybody I've ever known in my life and my Rolodex in front of me. I can't just tell my car, oh, take me to the Taco Bell and tell Julian, fuck off. Responding in a text message. You can in some cars now, but back then in 2010, in Dodge, they were wondering, holy shit, somebody's gonna fucking hack into a car and kill somebody. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers are eating Tide Pods.
Yeah, but the hacking thing, though, like, if that was a concern back then, could you imagine how much more sophisticated the hacking is today? And this is what I'm saying. My car is not super modern or anything like that. It has a dashboard interface, and I'm sure if you had the abilities, you could hack it or whatever.
Sure.
But that's what I'm saying. This is a freedom we've given up again.
Yeah.
The digitalization of our automobiles, because you can't fucking hack a Trans Am. You can't hack something from the 70s. You can't hack those old muscle cars.
That's true.
And what we've continued to do is we've allowed technology into our everyday life, and the more ingratiated we become with technology, and the more stimulated we become with technology, the more vulnerable we've become as a society. Because there's so many more outlets. Think about this, all right?
Back in ancient civilization. Just think of Cyberpunk 2077, my guy. Neuralink and people getting implants and cyber implants. You have cyber eyes. People being able to walk again because they were quadriplegic or whatever, and now they got a little chip in the brain, and the brain's talking to everything.
Yeah.
There's that shit, too.
Oh, that's great.
But then somebody's going to hack your fucking spine.
Exactly.
Just like in Cyberpunk, they're gonna overheat your eyeballs or some shit, because people are always finding new ways to be disgusting and horrible towards each other. So
Yeah.
now you got
that's what I'm saying.
actual body
like
malware protection. Like Norton is going to be like, hey, you need here's your digital body condom. Pop that on and you're safe to walk around in the world. Nobody can hack your eyeballs. That's
what I'm
terrifying.
saying. Like, so as a species, back in history, like when we were tribal and communities and stuff, so to fear threats, it had to be clear and present danger.
Yeah.
It had to be someone used to have to march onto your land, get by your natural topography, your defenses, and attack you in your home or draw you out of your home and fight you in pitch battle, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we are created as a society, right? But now the fact that we become so digitized and we become so assimilated with technology, it's like you say, we have a fucking Neuralink. We have like a spinal cord. Pretty much, it gets gets impulses from a mother, like a server somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. We become so vulnerable as a society because we become so assimilated with technology. Now people across the world can actually affect you and attack you without ever coming into your country, whatever, without ever marching on your land, attacking your home base, or whatever. They can attack you through the things that you've assimilated into your life. My computer, my car, my phone, my TV, any of these things can be used as instruments against me because I've assimilated to technology and I've allowed technology to become an everyday presence in my life. Because I don't give a fuck how good of a hacker you are. If I'm out in the Alaskan wilderness, with no phone, no computer, no TV, you can't touch me. If you drop a bomb on me,
there's drones.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying.
There's drones. They can
still but that's what I'm saying. And that, once again, that's technology. You know, so you need technology. Yeah, so like I'm saying, is the only way to we've weakened ourselves as a society is the fact that we've become so assimilated with technology. Now the people all over the world can attack us, whereas back in history, the only people that could attack us was the clear and present dangers.
That's true.
I think that's why we're all so anxious all the time. Like back in the day, anxiety wasn't a thing unless you're actually under siege or if you're being invaded. Now anxiety is a constant because you're like, oh, that text on my phone, is that really encrypted? Is like, are the government able to see that? Who's watching me? Are China spying on me? I got a Xiaomi phone. Right. Like, is the Communist Party reading all my texts and looking at all my posts and shit like that? Like I'm currently writing a book about Nazis and the occult.
Well, to answer that, if you have to ask the question, the answer is yes. The Chinese Communist Party is reading your text. 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. And the thing about it is, like, my phone is completely listening to me. The other day, I'm writing a book about the Nazis and the occult. The other day, I was talking to a guy. I was brainstorming with him. I'm like, how about this? How about this kind of thing? And straight away, I go on Facebook. In my timeline, I have the screenshot saved on my phone. Literally, like a minute or two later, I go into my timeline on Facebook, and there's a book called The Fatherland, and that was recommended to me by the Facebook algorithm, and that's a book about Nazi Germany. And like so that's what I'm saying. Like, so we've allowed these things before. We had to have our city walls breached, our castle had to come under siege for us to feel under attack and to feel real anxiety. But now we feel constant anxiety as a civilization, as a species, because we're ingesting bad news all the time.
Yeah.
And we're always under threat subconsciously because we fear, like, who's watching me through my webcam? Is my phone listening to me? Is my laptop listening to me? My TV spying on me? Like, are people hacking into my personal files? Am I going to get doxxed? Like, all these things are linked to digitization.
I mean, but in the same aspect, I think there were other things to worry that took up that worrying space in your mind back then. You know, like, people used to have to worry about polio. I mean, some places in the world they still do technically, but you know, we pretty much got that one pinged in the butt, right? There's certain things like you had to really fucking worry about that shit, you know? And back in the day, especially like fucking tetanus, you know, like fucking rabies, getting bitten by like a rabid animal or some shit. There's a bunch of things. You could just go out to go to work and never come home. Smallpox, that's another fucking thing. Syphilis, Jesus fucking Christ, your nose falls off. There was a lot more, especially as a man.
Oh, have you ever heard
syphilis one? That one would have really been at the top of your fucking forefront of your mind.
Have you ever heard of the big wig thing? To link with syphilis?
Oh yeah. That's why they had the big wigs, because they could all their hair fell out. Yeah. That's how. Oh, fucking horrible, fucking disease.
Like that's how Al Capone died. Madness from syphilis.
Okay, I get it. I mean,
encephalitis or something, it attacks the brain or something.
Saying, man, there's like, we live in the best fucking time. The only time that gets better than this is when they're actually like, I could go on Amazon and order a new lung. Like, nah, it's gonna be here on Thursday. Just watch out for my package. I'm getting a new lung.
Nah, bro, I'm against that. Like,
I'm just saying.
This is what I'm saying.
We're gonna be able to
like, not about
boop, pop a little bit of your DNA in a syringe, send it to the lab, get a new fucking heart, and then it's already sitting waiting at the hospital. It's gonna be installed. It's already installed. Look at that, they got it done. It's gonna be so fucking crazy.
Is it called Theseus? Did you ever hear that story? Was it called Theseus ship? Is it Theseus?
Yeah, the ship of Theseus. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, so you keep replacing that. When does it stop being you?
You can keep replacing me till I'm all chromed out, Choom. I am fucking great. I love that. I mean, it's not like I want to jump 6 stories in the air. You know, I don't want any kind of weird stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, some bionic eyes would be fucking awesome.
Would it though?
I mean, with like 3 times zoom, not even like, you know, just so I know the street, so I could see the street names for the signs, like 3 blocks away. So I know where I'm turning, you know? The GPS is never accurate. It always makes it look like you're closer than where you are. But if I had a bionic eye, I'd be able to fucking pop that thing all the way like a half a mile down. Like, bitch, I'm not falling for that. We still got 3 more lights. I don't got to turn yet.
Dude,
it's a very specific reason why I want the eyes.
The same confidence. I wish I had the same confidence in myself that my GPS does. Yeah. Like, turn right in 600 meters. Dude, I have no fucking clue what 600 meters is.
Oh, I know.
Like, come on. How Irish people give directions that you turn right. See that fucking house up there, yeah? When you go up there, you take a right at that, and there's another house down there, you take a left. We don't know distances.
No.
Like, you know
I mean, how tall was he? No idea. I can't fucking tell you how tall he was. No idea.
This big.
He's kind of tall as me. Or he was really tall. He was fucking huge.
Yeah.
It could be like 6 foot. It's like 5 inches taller than me, but he's like so fucking tall. Like, this is fucking all the way up there. My neck hurts. Like, he was really tall. So you think like 5, 6 feet? Fucking 10, dude. He was huge. They pop him in front of you. He's 6 foot. I'm like, that's the guy. See how tall? Oh, wow. You guys are actually the same height. Look at that.
What do you think of, is it, there's a place, is it Machu Picchu or Pumapunku or something where there's these gigantic steps?
Yeah. I think that's both, because in Machu Picchu, they cut into the mountain. And they're like, this is where we're farm. This is the fucking shit. And it's ingenuitive. They have stone, gravel, sand, earth. They have it also that you can grow whatever you need on top of a fucking mountain. You know? That's it. It's impressive. Especially the water collection. The knowledge of hydrodynamics and what water can do, I think, is a lot more powerful. Because even when you're looking at Egypt and how they understood the Nile, they sucked at sailing, but they knew their Nile. They knew their river. They knew how to go up and down that thing. They knew when the Nile floods, all right, we're going to float these bricks all the way up to as close to that fucking construction site as we can, and then we're going to drop them off and go get more. Those guys, they're going to put it in place.
Is that how you think they built the pyramids?
Well, and then they're showing, and I forget the one video, I forget what it was, but they were showing essentially with the inner scans that they essentially just built it up for, like, that was the ramp, was as it was going. So they built it very smartly, and they found the cemetery. They could tell these people built the pyramids because it said so, and you could see the signs. Their back, their spine looked like this man pushed rocks for a living. That spine looks very fucking, probably no insulation, very compressed. Small people,
So
buddy,
do you think,
there's
who do you think built the pyramids? Do you think it was Khufra?
See, that's the thing. Did he build the pyramids, or did he, did he build them outright, or was there already something there?
He refurbished them.
You know what I mean? They, especially in the deserts, they have their holy sites around these places where there's water. And there's the shaft of Osiris right there. So we already there because of the shaft of Osiris and the water. And then eventually someone turns this older site, maybe it was run down. The sands of Egypt tend to overtake everything over time, hence to where I really do believe that Khafre, he saw probably a jackal, a lion, something, and said, fuck that, put my head on top. Make it a sphinx. Fall apart,
his son, I think.
disrepair.
That's the dream stealer.
You know what? We got enough rock to make your face in that, man. Why don't I do that? Like, fuck yeah, you're putting my face in that shit.
That's based on the dream stealer, is it?
Yeah.
Or is that the guy that buried the Sphinx?
Yeah, the dream stealer where he buried the Sphinx. But he unburies it, and he's like, yeah, look, it's on the way there. There was the guys who scanned the pyramids with the new technology, the SAR. They supposedly found a second Sphinx, but I don't believe that shit. There's a lot of rock faces. Somebody maybe, carved something that started to look like a Sphinx. I don't think you're going to find a second Sphinx. The one Sphinx they had, and especially the old sites in Egypt, they've already been refurbished by ancient Egyptians. That's how fucking crazy those things are. They've been refurbishing that shit. So even when they first found it in the 1800s, ancient Egyptians already refurbished that shit. So they were already there refurbishing. They had a guy go around and mark on the outside of the pyramids whose pyramid it was. That's how we know. They never found anything inside. They never found a sarcophagus. Although there was that thing that like Egyptian mummies were like an aphrodisiac for a while. So obviously the big ones, the big pyramids, they would be the first to be robbed, And especially if you say, hey, if you chop up this guy's finger and eat it, it'll make your dick hard. That guy's not going to ask any questions. He's never going to tell you he ate the mummy. But man, he had a fun time.
Yeah, but like it makes no sense to me. If you look at all the other pharaohs that were found in the Valley of the Kings, like none of their tombs were easy to find. It makes no sense to me that you would actually build this gigantic monument and then put all this valuables into it, because it's going to get pilfered. Like immediately, it's going to get like grave robbers are going to take it. But poverty's
the best part is that grave robbers helped built it. They were the construction people who built the fucking thing. They knew where all the traps were.
I don't think the pyramid was that. I don't think it was ever a tomb.
You don't think it was a tomb? I mean, look, there's the thing.
I think that
it was already a treasured site to them because of everything. Yeah. It is the kind of like the whole valley of the. It's like the land of the dead. There's nothing but mausoleums and shit as far as the eye could see. I think if you go back far enough in time, that just meant this was a land that meant something to the people. And that's where they start building these monuments on top. It's hard to be able to just like pick apart like what they did, but I think if you apply a little bit of logical intention, you can get kind of close.
They've never ever, like you even touched on, they've never found one sarcophagi ever.
There's no reliefs on the inside. There's no reliefs. Every other tomb. This is who I am, and this is what I did, like a big fucking neon billboard sign outside of Vegas. In every single one. Besides these.
And they've never shown once how they built the pyramids in none of their hieroglyphs.
Yeah. There was supposedly a Dead Sea Scroll they found that had how they built the pyramids in it. And it was like, I forget the name of the material, but it was like a oxalite or it was like oxalite or some kind of a mineral like that. They had used chisels and they carved it out, put it in a boat, send it upriver, Nile's high, they move it up close to the site, pop it in. So somebody had to build it. Was it always these three big pyramids that line up right to Orion's belt, even planets aligning over the top of it, you know? Could it be coincidence? It could. They're pyramids. They're made to look like mountains, right? So where does the symbolism stop and where does the functionality go into it, you know? To where
Who's that dude that thinks they're power plants?
Oh yeah. Now I've heard the power plant theory. Well, especially with those scans. Like if that shit under the pyramids is real, those long shafts with the spiral columns going around. If it is real, I think that does look like some kind of fucking power system. You know what I mean? Whatever system was there. However, those were made, you know, those 6 shafts with the spiral staircases down. However it was made, you know, it looks awfully power planty, you know?
How do you think that they lit up the inside of the pyramids when they were making them?
Well, that's
I think something like a Baghdad battery or something.
Because you would notice carbon buildup if they used fire. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
there's no smoke marks.
You know, there's no smoke marks. There was that thing about the Egyptian battery and the thing that looked like a light bulb. People are saying it wasn't a light bulb, but it's just so convenient how they had this ability. Now, it may be something with mirrors. They were able to, you know, make the light move around so that you could have it lit on the inside by just a little bit of obsidian glass, you know, maybe something like that. Being ingenuitive like that, you know, we don't really have that problem. We're, you know, you have cities that don't sleep and lights on 24/7. We're not in that world of complete darkness.
We used to have that problem though.
Oh yeah. You know, sun went out, you went to bed. That was it.
Yeah, so what I'm saying to you is, like, if we were to build the pyramids back then with the tools that we know, and the only way we would illuminate it would be with torches, and that would probably suffocate your workforce over time because there's nowhere in terms of ventilation for all that smoke and carbon monoxide to go. So how did they light up the pyramids? Like, in my opinion, I don't know why the pyramids were built. I don't know about power plants and stuff like that. I don't know enough. I know they talk about reservoirs of zinc and how it's highly conductive and all these other little theories and stuff. What I think is whoever built the pyramids wasn't who we think built the pyramids. Like, I think it was Imhotep. I think he was this famous Egyptian architect, and he built a lot of these big works and stuff like that. Or he's, not to say that he built these big works, but he is given credit for building a lot of these in terms of our understanding of historical Egypt. And I just think if you look,
Sneferu was the pyramid builder. Sneferu.
Sorry, Sniffer. So, like, if he was the architect of these pyramids, okay, which maybe he built some of the later ones, which makes more sense to me. Why was it, if they were the architects and creators and the innovators of this technology, why did the technology get worse and worse over time? To me, it looks like
that could be coming down to those intermediate periods, because it wasn't like a politically stable area all the time. I think it was, I believe, Ramses II ruled for an insane amount of time, like 66 years. The longest of any Egyptian ruler. But he was so old that when he died, they forgot the right of succession. They forgot how to do it. So it's like, you know, especially with the intermediate periods, with like this guy's king, there's upper, lower, whole bunch of different factions. There's so many different periods for knowledge to get lost, especially when only your upper class, priestly class can read it. You know, it's a little bit to where you would get the mythology, you would have the gods persist and their stories and all of that stuff, and all the stories continue, but you know, it's like, what's in front of me right now? If you don't have it, you know, written down, a lot of people forget it. But if all your history and everything you know is just orally told to you, you don't have things written down, remembering. People thought books were going to be the death of people because they will never remember anything. You'll never remember anything important. I think it was Socrates who had a problem with like written literature. You'll never remember anything. The hell you're writing it down for? Reading these books.
It's kind of ironic because the only reason we know about Socrates is because people wrote stories about him.
You know, man, and it's just like, oh, what are you fucking writing it down for? You goddamn people. So it's like, you know, the written word was a little bit of every new technology. It's a little bit taboo to the older generation of people who have already been working and doing the things this way. You know, that's where you get the ergot and the wine, and maybe it loosens up the public a little bit. Like, yeah, sip on this drink. Now, how do you feel about water wheels? I love water wheels, man. Look at that shit. Maybe that's how they did it. I don't know. I mean, but I think that a lot more people were getting stoned and calling it a religious ritual, because there were, how many ancient rituals do they have? And it's just like depicted on stone walls. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's mushroom, and a bunch of people fucking. Clearly, this was their fertility ritual, and everybody got fucked up together, and a bunch of people ended up fucking, having kids, and that's how the village is still around. You know, we found ways to get around these problems, and especially with people. Put a story behind it, they'll remember it. They'll take the lessons from it, you know?
I just think, like, I think the issue with people laying claim to things that they have no evidentiary proof to do it is they build their entire identity around their claim that they've laid. So when you look at Egypt, what is the first thing you think of? You think of the pyramids, you think of the Sphinx. So if you were to say to Egyptians, I don't believe that your ancestors, your direct ancestors, were the ones that built these massive megalithic structures, these fantastic wonders of the world, then they believe it's an assault on their identity and their capability as a race or whatever. I just think history has been mistold to us. It's maybe a version of the Egyptians built the pyramid, but I just don't think that the people that we accredit them to
are the ones that built it. Because pre-Neolithic or Neolithic cultures that did it. These people who they were working with stone. This is technology. Stone, wood. That's what they got. Rope.
Yeah, copper chisel stuff.
So you have principles like leverage. You understand things. Now, if you understand hydrodynamics on top of that, you got a really good start. If you understand that water is non-compressible and you can use it to your advantage, there's a lot of doors opened up for you in this world, especially if you're trying to move heavy fucking things. You know, they found an Egyptian drill.
To move them. It's about the ability to carve them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the precision. You know, you look at Easter Island with the Moan sculptures. You know, for forever it was just like, oh, it's just the heads. Then it's like, no, it's a whole body, and the arms wrapped around the midsection, a lot like Göbekli Tepe. Now, is that just two people who had the same idea, like two people drawing a stick figure? You know what I mean? An inevitability. Or was this signs, like Graham Hancock saying, of a global, some kind of a global thing? Because we have evidence that it wasn't just the Berengian Strait that brought people over to America. There was other people, like the White Sands the White Sands footprints. It's 22,000 years old. 13,000, 12,000 year old land bridge can't really do that. If it wasn't there, they can't cross it, you know? So one of the things is, they were just kind of island hopping, staying close to the shore. That's possible too. Even up there, you'd still have fish, seals, stuff for them to eat so they can keep going. And then all of a sudden you're down in Oregon. Yeah, this looks great. Let's keep going. That's possible, you know, especially with people and boats, especially with one catastrophe. That's all it really takes is one catastrophe to really just send people like, you know what? I'm fucking moving. And they go on, you know? One fire tornado and you know what? California is not for me. I am moving. I don't like fire tornadoes. And then they keep going. You know, it's just the certain cultures that innately just picked up and went to stone for some reason. Yeah. And then you have these other cultures. They're still living in, you know, mud huts, you know, straw huts, hunting with spears and, you know, little launching devices. Weird.
And what do you think? What do you think inspired these prehistorical civilizations to build these great monuments?
I think they saw that stone was one of the only things that doesn't go away. Because you look at everything else, you build something in stone, you know. But then there's also a level of technology to it, too, like down in the Incas, to where, obviously, if you're going to build something on top of a mountain, you're going to understand that the ground shakes a little bit, but they fucking accounted for it. It's like absorbing material to make sure that everything's going to stay in place because they didn't want these massive stones falling and killing their family. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. And there's
why did they build so high up?
Could be to connect to the gods, a sacred, you know, especially with like Machu Picchu. That was the escape, right? That was the rulers like Camp David. So that kind of makes sense. You have a staff there keeping the ground set, but the pre-Inca, because the Inca would try to make shit look like the pre-Inca. Just so, it just looks like the Inca were always here. Very smart marketing device. They think that you're so much more, you know, impactful of a culture and aggressive of a culture because, oh my God, look at this. This must be theirs. Must be like an older city. Look at this massive thing. That kind of, you know, copying off of shit.
Do you think there's anything in the theory that maybe they built these civilizations so high up because there was massive flooding?
Well, I mean, maybe is that an ancient memory from the floods?
You know what I mean? Like, because there's so many places that are almost inaccessible today.
Japan has those markers, the stones, and it says, do not build below here because of tsunami, because of the death wind or whatever the tsunami means, or deathly wind.
But if you look at, like, is it Lake Titicaca? It's like, that's up in the mountains and nobody's quite sure how it got so high up, and like maybe that it was just rainfall or something. But what if it was massive water and there was a big crevice there and it just receded, not just stood there?
You know, I mean, they found a man-made found out an island was man-made 1,200 years ago. I think it was around in the Mediterranean. Found it was man-made 100 years. But yeah, we understand the concept of Earth, so. Yeah, you can man-make stuff. And especially when you're looking at some of these massive fucking megalithic structures, you know, that knowledge. And especially the ones like off the coast of Japan of like, these people are just like, oh no, the underwater village. That's what they call it. And it looks like an underwater village because it was probably a pre-Neolithic Jomon site, which the Jomon people were the native ancestral to Japan. Ancient Jomon site, waters rise, they're wiped out, you know, and the stories of that giant flood continue on. And usually it's like 2 people, 7 people, arrange, a mixture of that. And then they go on to seed the world and tell them this is how we used to do things. So there is a civilization, giant flood, and now we start over. Common trope around the world, but when you look at especially Japan, because they got conquered after the Jomon people. They're, ancient Chinese came in and fucked them up. That's how their culture and their symbols and everything got started, because China came over there. And then that's a very interesting history. If anybody never really thought about Asian history until I was reading some of it in a mythology book Big Brother had. But I looked into it. It's so fascinating. The Jomon people were that was that Neolithic culture that already had knowledge and set knowledge, albeit more nature-based, spiritual kind of medicinal like knowledge like that, shamanistic kind of stuff, but there's still ancient knowledge preserving. And now you look at these big fucking stones, and some of them people found a way. It may not have been a lot, may have been just like one culture, but you look at the mythology and there are these giants. Were they physical giants? Were they metaphorical giants because they were so smart and advanced that they could build,
I hate that theory.
You don't like that theory?
That's one of Graham Hancock's theories. It's like I've never heard anyone describe anyone because there's lots of information and technology that just go, oh, that guy's a giant. You could say like, yeah, he's a technology giant or anything.
Yeah.
But I believe if you look,
stretching.
I'm not sure about Anunnaki and Nephilim, all this thing that's linked with the ancient Sumerians. Is it Sumerians or Assyrians? But I think there was just big people. There's big people today. You know what I mean? I think that Graham Hancock's funny in a sense that he's well able to reach so far with some of his theories, and he does a lot of things that are confirmation bias. But yet, when he comes to the theory of giants, he can't just say, "Yeah, there's giants."
Well, I really.
I'm not saying that these were 100 feet tall or anything. But
even to your people, the Irish, in the little bit of a research I was doing, the Ashid, the fucking extra dimensional beings you have just in your mythology there, like, oh, well, they don't live on our plane. They live in another plane of existence, and you don't actually know how you're getting over there, like fucking wandering into Narnia. And that's just in your Irish culture there. Just like, oh, yeah, no, extra dimensional beings. Watch out. They'll fuck with you. Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Tuatha De Danann. Where did that come from? The Fomorians. Where does these mythologies come from?
Did somebody get abducted, or was it like they went into this other, other existence, this other world, this other plane?
Like, if you look at the Tuatha De Danann, right? Yeah. There's a king. Their king was called Nuada, and he lost his arm in a battle with the Fomorians, and they said that he was crafted a silver arm by the silversmith, and the silversmith's son used mysticism to turn the silver arm into an arm that looked like flesh, and then the silversmith took such offense to it that he murdered his own son. But I digress. So what I'm trying to say is, why do you think they talk about these technologies in prehistory? Like, you know what I mean? To talk about like prosthetics, like to talk about replacing an arm with a silver arm, and like that's like we talk about bionics. Like, you know what I mean? That's like talking about prosthesis. Like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Like, was there a technology back then? Like, why? Like, because of information or knowledge that was lost. That because it's like I spoke to Jukebox Ginger on a podcast recently. I said, it's that old saying where if technology becomes so advanced, it becomes indecipherable from magic. So, like, was it a case that there was a primitive people, a shamanistic, a spiritualistic people, that their perception of the universe came through spiritualism, and then when it came to trying to understand advanced technology, they looked at it as magic and mysticism because that was the way they perceived reality, and not in terms of advanced technology.
Right. I mean, because there's almost like that, if you do have that strict cutoff between like the priestly or the knowing class, the educated class, and the schlubs you just have doing labor. Like we saw with Egypt, if the schlubs get taken out, what is left but the stories that these uneducated people had about what you were doing, you know? So there's that, and there's that information lost just from, oh, well, yeah, he may know he's working at Area 51, but he doesn't know he's just a janitor, you know? But
like Chinese whispers then as well, though, isn't it? So pretty much like, so to say, right, if I had knowledge of a supercomputer and the supercomputer was able to encapsulate all sorts of human thoughts and experiences in terms of like it operated like a hive mind, and it was like, and then if I knew about the supercomputer and I don't understand algorithms and I don't understand quantum mechanics and I don't understand computational things in terms of like advanced computational theory and stuff like that, but I know of the existence of a computer. I know the basic idea of a computer, and if I used to say to somebody, if I try to explain that computer to somebody, and I go, yeah, there was this massive memory bank, and it had all this computational power, blah blah blah, and I tell that to one person, but my knowledge is very basic of something that's incredibly intricate, and then their knowledge is only based off my knowledge, and then they're to tell the next person, and they're to tell the next person. 5 generations later, my understanding of that supercomputer might have been diluted into there was this creature, and he knew everything, and he was all knowing.
So
and
you're saying it's like you're saying essentially it's like if I taught my daughter how a car works, and she just went based off of my knowledge. Oh, like no, that's what Dad said. It's just he says this is how a fucking car works.
Yeah, and then like, and if she was like 5 or 6 to say,
I don't mention it, and then you know that knowledge is lost. She doesn't know, but that's the kind of concept there. That's kind of fucking terrifying when you think about it.
And that's what I think. That's what happened. Like, it's not just terrifying. I think it's accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why when you look at the perfect example is the pyramids. That's why the Great Pyramids of Giza, the later ones, the ones that are far more ancient, are far more advanced, because it's a case of, just say Matt builds the pyramid and Matt tells Vinny, Matt builds the pyramid and I see the pyramids being built. Yeah. Right? And I have a rough idea of how the pyramids are built. Yeah. But I don't know how to build pyramids. And then I go and tell my daughter, this is how I think the pyramids are built. And then she doesn't build any pyramids, but she retains my version of the information that was actually what occurred. And then she tells somebody, and then they tell somebody, and then they build a pyramid. Yeah. But their interpretation of the pyramid is being diluted by 4 or 5 generations of bad information. Yeah. And that's why the more modernistic pyramids are worse technologically than the later ones, or the more ancient pyramids, because the people that invented the pyramids were no longer around to directly influence the passage of information.
Well, and then there's also the thing that human beings also do when they recant stories is you tend to exaggerate and you spice things up, you know?
That's why I think mythology
you make things
from true stories.
Bigger, you know. It was 15 guys. I took them all out at the bar, and it was really one guy. You know, the stories exaggerate. Things get bigger. Things get more unbelievable, and that's where the unbelievability of, you know, like archaeologists look at it like, oh, you can't look at mythology. They're fucking lying. Well, yeah, of course they're lying, but there was a guy named King Solomon, wasn't there? There was a guy named King David, too. You fucking found Nebuchadnezzar. You know what I mean? It's like these names were saved in history, you know, and
for a reason.
The stories were there. The person who's to know, you know what I mean? What they were actually like, but the knowledge was lost, you know, like Sneferu's son. He did not build pyramids like his dad.
Exactly. That's all it takes. You know? 1, 2, 3 generations of the information to be lost. And then you have an approximation.
You know,
you don't have the
my
actual
dad's an
information, you have
engineer.
the approximation of it.
You know, my dad's an engineer. He can't tell me how he made a machine and have me retain all the information of that. And then what? I'm supposed to then tell somebody else, bro, you're not getting that same machine. It's not going to work after the second generation. You're like, I have no
That's
idea.
the thing, yeah.
And that's how quickly it could fall apart. One person that's just like, he's kind of a half-wit.
Yeah, and all it takes is one catastrophe.
Yeah. Just start wiping everything out, starting from scratch. You know?
You know what I mean? Like, so like, if there's 8 billion people in the world, how many people know how to make semiconductors?
I think after recent events, we know not a lot of fucking people by how many shortages and shit are in the world. It's
exactly.
only people in China.
So, right. What did it say? The big base of semiconductors is Taiwan and China. Right. So what if there's a massive catastrophe and Taiwan gets wiped off the map, lots of people die, there's like 2 billion people left in the world. How many people of those 2 billion people know how to make semiconductors?
Well, right. Yeah. That's the thing. You know.
That's how easy it is to lose the knowledge of something.
Well, that was the cool part about that Dr. Stone anime, because in that anime, the main protagonist is the one guy who actually knows how everything's made, because that is not the person who would actually make it in real life. In real life, it'd be a guy who fucking knows nothing. He'd starve to death and die, and humanity would die with him. That would be it. But
I'll pose this question to you. Do you remember when they said there was like a super volcano eruption around and it globally wiped out humanity to the point where there was only a few thousand people left alive?
Yeah.
How many of those people do you think had any sort of information of advanced technology?
Well, I mean,
one.
Well, it depends on what you consider advanced technology at that time, because at that time it wasn't very advanced. I don't even think they had.
How do you know?
A lot. Well, there you go. Because anything organic would have been long gone. And they actually found Neanderthals. They found these real intricate sewing needles. So they had tailored, nice clothing. You know, it's not just like hack off the head and throw the skin over my shoulders. They had clothes. Dude. They had tools. They had flutes. They had musical instruments and traditions and rituals. It was a whole fucking culture that eventually...
It lasted 250,000 years. They needed these things to survive.
It's a whole culture that eventually just dicked down a bunch of Homo sapiens and ended their race. Or incorporated their race.
They didn't end their race. They still exist within our genome.
You know? I mean...
Yeah.
It's weird. It's wild. But then you have people down in like cultures down in Africa who have no Neanderthal DNA.
Of course, because they never left Africa.
Because it was right there, centralized. So that's where you have that genetic displacement between the two, and difference in disease and difference in cultures and even knowledge and, how far their cultures even got.
See, the thing is, though, with civilization, people say for civilization to survive, people have to survive. Yeah. Well, no, that's wrong. The right people have to survive.
Yeah.
For civilization to survive.
Yeah.
As I said, like if you've got 7,000 or 10,000 people, how many of those fucking people know how to build megalithic structures? How many of those people know how to build irrigation systems? How many of those people know how to do woodwork? Probably only a handful, if you're lucky.
Plumbing, electric, and most people, you call a plumber, you call an electrician, you call a handyman, you go to a mechanic. You don't know how your car works. You don't know how to make a fucking blender. You know what I mean? You don't. Most people don't know how all that stuff works. They don't know how to, if apocalypse happened today, they wouldn't know the first thing of how to get that salt, that meat that doesn't go bad without a refrigerator. They wouldn't know about salting your paper.
Most people don't know how to make a fire. Most people don't know how to make shelter.
Oh, I had an old roommate. The way he started a fire was he threw gasoline on it. I'd sit there with the twigs and everything and build it up, and I'd be blowing on it, and he'd be fucking making fun of me. Like, oh, look at this guy blowing on fire. I'm like, oh, yeah, you could just always waste my gasoline on it, too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So if you just say, right, use your friend and yourself as a microcosm for human civilization, all it takes then is for you to die, and then he doesn't have to make a fire properly anymore, because if he's got no gasoline, he's fucked.
Exactly. It is just, no, we eat it raw.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then what happens? He's going to eat pork raw, and then he's going to get, what's that disease you get from pork?
Trichinosis.
My brain.
Yeah.
Trichinosis. Yeah. And that's why my theory is that Islam and Judaism believe pork to be a filthy creature, because they didn't cure it correctly, or they didn't clean it correctly. They got trichinosis. They thought it was a filthy creature, but it wasn't. It was just improper handling of meat. Yeah. That's all it was.
You know, I mean, you got a whole bunch of different things that you're not going to get definitive answers, but if you apply like a modern day human mindset on it, and just think, like, it's the same brain. It's the same reason of like how, we have people alive today that think the earth is fucking flat. These are people who are breathing the same oxygen and driving a car right next to you. You could be stupid in one aspect and really smart in other things. I always tell the first lady, even Einstein was a boob outside of theoretical physics.
It's just like, that's what I'm saying. So it's so easy to lose knowledge, because knowledge is so compartmentalized through societal specialization.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of that. You know, and then even
like, there's a lot of things I know how to do, but there's even more things that I have no fucking clue what to do.
Oh yeah.
It's like you said, go to your mechanic, go to your plumber, go to an electrician. Like, there's a certain amount of common knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
But how many generations does it take for my common knowledge to be diluted into nothing?
Well, it's the thing. Like, if you knew how to turn like a fire green and purple and blue, it would be a really cool fucking party trick that, even used in the right time or instance, you may be able to trick people into thinking that you're magic. Mm-hmm. You talk to gods, you know, but that person with the knowledge that, hey, when I take this bit of rock dust and I throw it into a fire, I get this reaction. Mm-hmm. You know, the first scientist, if you will, that knowledge is going to look like magic to anybody. You know what I mean? Mm. So how much of that was just, no, my dad's that crazy fucking magician in the woods, you know? How much of that happened?
My understanding of human evolution and theology is that our current understanding of theology comes from a misunderstanding of advanced technology.
Okay.
Like, I think our understanding of what it means to be a deity, like the perfect example in contemporary terms, in a sense, because it's not really contemporary, was back from World War II. The cargo cults. I've spoken about this before. Lots of people have. So pretty much you had these indigenous tribes that were uncontacted. They saw these airlifts and all that, and they start worshipping the planes as deities. And they call it cargo cults because of the cargo drop-offs and stuff like this. So if you look at, like, my theory, I'm kind of entrenched in the whole thing about, I think there was a catastrophe, there was advanced civilizations, and then they germinated throughout the world. And then that's where we got a sense of deities and stuff like that, because I think this has occurred through history a lot. You got probably spiritualistic societies that have had emigration from advanced civilizations, and the advanced technology that was held over from these civilizations was looked at as advanced or like in magic. And if you look at, like, through history, there's always these certain things that, he had this, like the hammer of Thor and stuff like that, and the spear of Longinus and the spear like, I think all of these things are probably some form of advanced technology because of their perception of spirituality, that they thought these creatures or these beings were just deities because they came from the heavens. They were probably flying. They probably had aircraft and stuff like that. And I just think that like our modernistic understanding of theology comes from a misunderstanding of ancient technology, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, how many of those ancient people from those ancient stories were just tripping balls? You know, like Moses. Moses with the burning bush.
Acacia bush.
Like, yeah, just getting a big ass DMT trip. I bet you were talking to God. You weren't happy with these fuckers worshiping a gold calf. Wonder where you got those rules from. You know what I mean? He was already looking and observing at his neighbors that were around him. So he was already saying, well, you know what? I'm going to go up to that mountain. And then he just stumbles onto this fucking trippy ass tree talking to God with the bush.
Mount Sinai.
Fucking writing everything down. Why not? I mean, especially with the acacia tree, dude. I mean, you look into psychedelics and even just like the huffing of the volcanic fumes and the ergot wine of Greece and the oracles. These were people who were making decisions for war. Like, I want to go to war. Hang on, I got to go ask the oracle first. And they're just sitting there drinking fucking trippy ass wine and huffing, volcanic fumes. Probably dying at a very, very young age, I would assume. Like how many?
Why do you think though they believe in higher beings? Is what I'm trying to say. Like,
probably
like
the psychedelics. It's got to be the psychedelics, or just like that one priestly class that had those rituals. They had that, available to them, no matter what kind of, oppression that they come under. Usually the priestly classes, well, I have to enact these rites and ceremonies and whatever. It keeps you people in line. Keep them quiet. Look at the Romans. You can worship your gods. We don't care. Just pay Rome.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. I don't care. Pay Caesar. And that's all they cared about.
Yeah.
The money.
It's kind of like we're kind of gone back to the first question that we asked at the start of the podcast. Is like, what came first? Like, did people start believing in religion because they took psychedelics, or did they start taking psychedelics so they could try to reconvene with these gods that existed in history?
Yeah.
It's the chicken egg thing. What came first? The use of psychedelics. Did the use of psychedelics create religion, or did some sort of higher beings pre-exist and people are trying to reconvene with them?
It just kind of seems like if you have ancient humans sitting there on the prairie field, you're worried about fucking wild cats, coming up behind you. You try to stick together in packs, in big groups, because that's the more likelihood that you'll actually live. They'll eat your friend, but you'll survive. And then you just have this experience where all the edges are more defined, to where they actually think it helped with hunting. I would not want to go hunting with a person on mushrooms myself, but
maybe they're microdosing.
Maybe it'll turn out fine. But, just finding some fucking mushrooms on a prairie and just being like, you know what? Outside of the disgusting, I'm going to eat this mushroom that grew off of this animal shit thing, it probably fucking really opened up their mind. Because you got to figure, like, actually having a psychedelic experience, it was when I needed it, too. I was feeling really run down by the automotive industry, and I took my trip. My fucking God, I felt physically lighter for like 2 months. Long time. And that's just like one little experience. But you look at like these ancient people, that must have been, you didn't have knowledge. Like, I went into this with knowledge of, I know what to expect. This is just, let me eat this. Holy fucking shit. What is happening? and now you're talking to another ethereal being. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd follow fucking religion after I had an experience like that, just when I'm trying to eat some berries or find something to eat on the field, and all of a sudden you're just talking to another being out of nowhere, or, you know, Lord knows what kind of trip you go on. What do the monkeys see when they get drunk and fucked up? You know what I mean?
Do you think every tribe had that one guy where everybody hated, but they pretended that they liked, and they were like, "No, you try it first. No, it's our honor. I mean, you try it first. You eat that mushroom because, like, mushrooms especially are so tricky because you can get ones like that taste like fucking beef, and you can get ones that are amazing, and you get ones that make you trip balls, and you get ones that can kill you instantly.
And they all look very close to each other.
Yeah, so like the trial and error must have been insane.
That's the wild thing. You know, the person who the first person to eat that after somebody they knew died. Like, wow. Charlie just died and you're still going to eat that. What? May not be that bad. Like, you know, there's somebody who says, fuck that, I'm going to do it anyway. That's even worse.
The first guy that ate the trippy mushrooms, the psilocybin, and they were like, dude. You know, it's like, tastes like feet, but dude, you're going to see a whole new existence. Like, you know?
But the one part about that video that I sent really made sense was those pre-Incas. They found ayahuasca and cocaine in their hair. And I'm like, well, that's how you moved all those stones. You were hopped up on fucking coke. And then you went to your shaman and had a religious experience, which showed you exactly how to move those rocks up the fucking mountain to make that. Yeah. And then you did a whole bunch of cocaine. They had like a fluorescite or some kind of mineral on the cocaine leaves that they would eat it that would make it stronger. Because just the coca leaf, that's cute. Let's add a little bit of sugar on that, honey. And then let's move some rocks. Whoa! Let's fucking go, son. You got 10 rocks to move today.
One of my biggest disappointments with human advancement is the fact that they took cocaine out of our everyday life. like it suits capitalism so amazingly. Like, it's
modern life is great, but you know what would be better? Amphetamines.
Yeah, look what the Germans did on fucking, what was it, Pervitin? Like, so, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get when everybody's on meth.
Yeah, like that. Like if they really want us to be productive as a society, I just think put cocaine back in Coca-Cola. That's all you gotta do. Because like, people always go to us, right? People always go to us like, oh, the older generations were better. The older generations could work hard. Yeah, because they had cocaine, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, so like, as you just said, like, how did they build the monolithic the structures? Like, cocaine. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's exactly how they did that. Hang on, man.
It's like, it takes
I got this idea. I'm going to make a 12-pointed stone. I'm going to make this 12-pointed stone. And it's going to fit right in there. How long has he been working on that stone? 7 months. It fits, though. Look at it. It's fit right in there perfectly. We're letting him do the whole facility.
And they're like, dude, how are you going to get that stone to the top of the hill? I'll fucking show you how.
Just tap it on his back. Like, let's go!
Backpack it, like.
Who's going to carry the stone?
Megalithic backpack.
You know?
Yeah. Like that definitely probably helps in terms of their productivity for sure. But like,
and that's why it was harder for the other cultures because they didn't have cocaine yet. You know, we didn't have those boats to send those plants massively over there to go back to Tempe. They had to do that the old-fashioned way. You know, a little blood, sweat, and tears. No cocaine over there. Although they did find, they said they can't fucking really say it was for beer. But it was for porridge. Right before that, he's like, yeah, but if you leave it out, it gets fermented. So even at Göbekli Tepe, they're still getting tossed.
Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, they're still getting tossed. Like a 40-liter, basin where they make porridge.
That makes sense, though. If you have a large construction site like Göbekli Tepe, you create this big, massive vat,
Oh, yeah.
let the beer ferment. It's safer to drink than water.
You know, and they even have those perpetual soups, like down in Indonesia, that they never stop cooking them. It's just like the same soup for 40 years just being cooked.
Oh, no.
You know?
That'd be disgusting.
Well, they keep adding shit to it. So as they sell it from the stall, they just keep adding into that stew. So it's just always fresh, always going. They're always open.
Not like Indian street food. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is on the street. That's
really, man. I have to say, the most impressive thing about Indians is their constitution.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, their stomach, like not like their political constitution. I just think, like, man, no bacteria alive.
I've had Indian food. I know what you're talking about. But
have you ever seen street food? The Indian street food videos?
No.
Dude, there's one where a guy's cutting the meat with his big toenail. Like, there's one where, dude, like, the height, like I'm saying, is the gut biome of the general public in India must be incredibly strong. If you want to dissolve plutonium, just like feed it to Indian people in their street food and their stomach, like they'll break it down. They'll break that shit down in 20 minutes, and they'll be drinking fucking sweet tea. Like I don't understand how they're not all dead through salmonella. Like the generational losses that must have occurred to build up that kind of fucking immunity to bacteria. The amount of people, like I have that theory where I don't believe there's 8 billion people in the world, but I definitely believe there's 1 billion people in India. You know what I mean? Because when I look at China, I'm like, fuck you, there's not 2 billion people there. First of all, you had the one-child policy for over nearly 5 decades. Second of all, there's too much of your country that's sparse to believe that there's almost 2 billion people there. But if you look at India, they've got people on top of people on top of people on top of people. I fucking believe there's 1 billion people there.
Yeah, no, sure. I believe India is 1 billion people. They're definitely there. They're definitely there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's just
I hate to live in India,
especially in that valley, the Indus Valley. That's again one of the oldest civilizations that we found, and they were advanced. Once again, running water, toilets. Like these people had fucking technology. They figured out, and then all of a sudden the Middle Ages comes, and people are just happy with hanging their ass off a fucking balcony with those castle toilets, and nobody wants fucking water, You're muted.
Muted.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. Do you believe in the big resets, like, the mud floods and all these things that, like, technology was suppressed and not just lost?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely spots where today we try to suppress technology that comes out. You look at
classified information.
Look at the new fucking documentary, man, S4 with Bob Lazar's story. The fucking government had these scanners that would measure your bones, everything about it. And that's how they knew this is Vinny. This is Matt. Boop. Yep, that's it. Everybody calls him crazy. He draws it. And then all of a sudden it just pops up on TV one day in a whole completely unrelated story, completely unrelated thing, just had to do with the military. And there's the scanner. There's that technology there that we've clearly had, and did not let out. There are areas where we do not let Google go and say, yep, right on Google Maps, there's the military base. You can't see them for fucking reason.
And if they're hiding technology as small as a hand scanner, what else are they hiding?
But then you look at S4. They just made it look like a mountain. So, okay, well, how are you going to look at it? How are you going to find it? Even if you change it, well, that's how I'm going to know there's something there, because you changed it. So now you're getting so good at hiding things that, it's almost at like a spy, like a Jason Bourne level, just to keep some technology under wraps. And then you find out all the shit that the CIA's been doing, and you're like, what?
Information is power.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, and the thing is, it's been occurring through all history that information has been suppressed and withheld. Because if you look at, for years, the Bible was, and all of church sermons were only read in Latin. Most people back then didn't speak Latin. So the priests seemed more godly and more in tune with God because they had this information.
Yeah.
And because of that, they were able to lord everything over people. And it wasn't until I think it was like King Alfred, maybe in England, that said that the sermons should be read in Middle English at the time, and so that the plebs or whatever, the peasant class, would obtain this information. And that's the thing, like, so if sermons are withheld from us, like, what else has been withheld from us throughout history? And what understanding of history do we have? Well, it's the understanding of what's been told to us by other generations.
Yeah.
And if literally all we're doing is we're taking what we're told as accurate portrayal of real events, well, what happens is, like you said earlier on, when people remember shit, they don't always remember it correctly.
Well, and it's
like,
our memories are fucking shit to begin with. They're horrible. I mean, how many times has somebody been telling you a story about yourself and you're like, oh my God, this sounds interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, tell me what else I did. Oh, yeah, I did that too.
It's so hard to retain information as an individual. Try retain information as a society.
Dude, you get to 40 years and you're like, oh my God. So many memories in there. You go, when you actually have to, like, remember, like, oh, no, hang on. No, actually, this happened first, and then that happened. And you have to really sit back there and think of the events. But other things and moments in your mind will happen clear as day, like they happened just before you open your mouth. So the memory is really weird. You will remember certain things crystal clear, and other things.
And the thing is, and as a society, you'll remember certain things crystal clear, but how much information is actually diluted and dissolved over time through societal memory loss.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think about, like, and that's why I say, like, that it's so easy for information and technology to be lost through generations. And the proof of that is more modernistic interpretations of megalithic structures are often poorer quality than the more ancient ones because the knowledge has been lost through time.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty, I think it's pretty believable, especially with the shoddiness of human minds. I think it's not that far off for people to believe. So, man, have we gone everywhere in this podcast. It is another good one, the silliest of podcasts. And we'll obviously be doing this again. Have some dates coming up that we will be setting out for the Delco or Bust screenings. So as soon as I have them, I'll be sharing them out on this network so everybody can get their tickets and see the new car documentary special extravaganza. And of course, I like to end off these podcasts the same goddamn way, and that's that we love you, miss you, and we can't wait to see you next time. Until then, drive on and game on, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm just showing all the fans that my wife-elect is learning how to crip walk right now.
Okay. This is not a fan thing, is it? We're trying to relocate the Irishman.
That's an innuendo. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Bye.